Hi guys, welcome to Guilds. Today we are going to be talking about building a fire. So building a fire is a great skill to have. If done safely, a campfire can make you feel safe and it can keep you warm. It can be used for cooking. It can scare away wild animals and serve as a signal to searchers in the night. In some cases, it can even save your life. But if it's not handled safely, a fire can burn you, it can set your shelter on fire, or it can even burn down the forest. So a fire has three needs. These needs are air, heat, and fuel. So it sounds simple, but if you've ever tried to start a campfire on a rainy day, you know how difficult it can be. If you are tired and scared and it's dark outside, it can become even harder. So today we're going to be going through how to prepare your fire area, how to gather materials so that it makes starting a fire easier. So first thing is preparing your fire area. So you'll want to first pick a spot that's out of the wind. So to make things easier, you can pick a spot that's already fire safe. This can be on top of a large rock or in a sandy area. Your fire needs to be out of the wind, and if possible, it should have a boulder or a rock wall behind it. This will help reflect the heat back to you and keep you warmer. Then you need to clear a circle at least 10 feet wide. So remove flammable leaves, grasses, or pine needles. If possible, dig a hole in the ground a few inches deep to make a fire pit. This makes your fire not only safer, but also easier to light if it's windy. If you can't dig a pit, make sure that you put a ring of rocks around the fire. This will help contain the flames and also heat the rocks. And even after the fire burns out, the rocks will be hot to keep you warm. And if you're in a snowy area, you will need to dig below the snow to start the fire, or build a deck so that you can build the fire on the deck. So after you've made a deck or put a fire ring or have dug a pit, the next step is to gather the materials you will need to build your fire. In order to get a good fire going that burns throughout the night, you will need way more fire than you think. You will need tiny pieces of tinder, small kindling sticks, and logs. Tinder is what you'll light first, and kindling, which are small sticks and branches, will feed the fire to get it going. And then firewood are larger logs that you'll put on last. You need to make sure that your tinder is completely dry. And also remember, the fluffier your tinder is, the better. So tinder is, like we talked about before, little tiny pieces that you're gonna light first. So you can save time and effort by carrying tinder in your survival kit or with you in your backpack. Good tinder materials include fine steel wool, shredded paper, wax paper, or small pieces of fat wood. You can also check your pockets for dryer lint. It is usually dry and makes a good tinder. If you didn't bring tinder and the weather is wet, look for dry pine needles or grass, dried rabbit or deer droppings, and small pieces of wood or bark. If you can't find dry tinder on the ground, your best bet is to use punk. Punk is rotted wood found inside of the trees that have been dead for some time. So kindling and firewood. So kindling is thin sticks and branches that feed the fire to get it going. And firewood is dry, larger logs like we talked about before. So you'll want to search for firewood in places that are protected from the weather, like under a big tree or beneath a piece of bark. Once you have a fire going, you can place damp wood next to your fire to dry so you can use it for later. So there are many good ways to build a fire, but you'll always start by lighting small pieces of dry tinder first. The tinder must be arranged so that the flames are protected from the wind, but still can get a little oxygen. You can either make a teepee of tinder or small sticks, or you can lean a tinder bundle against a log. We will go over more ways of how to build a fire the next guild session or the next guild class. Once you see flames in your tinder, you'll want to blow the fire gently to add oxygen and carefully feed it with small kindling sticks. Only add a stick or two at a time until the fire is burning well. After you have a strong fire, you can add larger sticks. And then when it gets even stronger, you can add logs. So there's lots of different types of fire starters. Camping stores sell wonderful products that help you get a fire started. There's waterproof matches. They will light easily, even in wet weather, but they need dry striker paper. Pack them in a sealed container to keep the striker dry. Disposable lighters are cheap and they usually work even if they have gotten wet. You just need to keep them dry. You just need to dry them out. You should carry both waterproof matches and a lighter whenever you go hiking, because those are super simple to use to start a fire. Also, if it's sunny, you can use a small magnifying glass or even a pair of eyeglasses to start a small fire. You can also use flint and steel or a bow drill. These are great things to use, but are usually more for experienced people because they're much harder to use. So there's lots of things that you can use for fire starting material. There's lots of funky things that you can use too. So like, for example, tortilla chips. If you hold the flame from a match or a lighter under a tortilla chip, such as a Dorito, for a few seconds, it will catch fire. Light colored chips that don't have much seasoning on them are easiest to light. Seasoning seems to make them less flammable. Corn chips work well too, as do plain old potato chips. Toilet paper and candle wax is also a great fire starter. So you coat individual toilet paper squares with melted candle wax. These will catch fire immediately and they'll burn steadily for quite a while. Dryer lint coated with melted candle wax also makes good fire starting material. Cotton balls and petroleum jelly is my personal favorite for starting fires. So you dip cotton balls in petroleum jelly, also known as Vaseline. These two will catch fire immediately and they'll burn strongly with a big flame, long enough for you to light some tinder. This is fire paste right here. Fire paste is sold in tubes. It's squeezed directly onto the wood and then lit. It ignites immediately. These are fire tablets. There are many different types of solid fuel tablets that burn well and provide enough sustained heat to cook over. There's also magnesium block scrappings. I know a lot of people that prefer that as their fire starting material. So magnesium is sold in blocks that have flint edge on one side for creating sparks. Using a knife, you will shave a small pile of magnesium flakes onto your tinder. Then you strike the flint with your knife to create a spark that lights the magnesium flakes on fire. Or you can just use a match or a lighter to light them. Magnesium catches fire even when it's damp. So a lot of people prefer magnesium because it will light even when it's wet outside. If you didn't bring any fire starting materials with you, think about the materials that you do have. Is there lint in your pocket? Do you have tissues? Maybe a candy wrapper? A corner of a map that you can tear off or shred? Use what you have to start a fire. And when you are all done using your fire, you'll always want to put it out. Or even when you leave your campground, you'll want to always make sure that your fire is out. So whenever you have a fire, you should make sure that you're always sitting by it or watching it. If you're not able to watch it and be near it, then you should extinguish it. The best way to put it out is with water. So you want to pour water on it and then stir it with a stick. If you don't have water, Cover the fire with a thick layer of dirt or sand. Be sure the fire is completely out before you take off. Many forest fires and brush fires have started from campfires that were supposed to be out, but instead just smoldered for hours until dirt that covered them was blown away and hot embers flew out. So, want to make sure that there's no embers, there's no tiny little light that you can see in the fire. Okay, so we are going to get off of our screens and do an activity. So this activity is to collect materials to build a fire. So we're not actually going to be building a fire today. We're just going to collect the materials. So what you want to think and search in your house for what starting materials do you have? So this could be any of the things that we listed before. Like, do you have chips? Do you have toilet paper? Do you have cotton balls? Could you make some cotton balls and Vaseline? So this will be fun to see what materials you already have. And then you can go into your backyard and you'll gather tinder and kindling and firewood. Can't wait to see what you guys come up with. And next time we will go over how to actually build a fire and different types of fires to build. Have fun, guys. See you next time.